recording episode 163, 162, 164, probably 163 with Will Ely. Ely, god damn it. All right, whatever, strike two. I got one more try. So last week our podcast was rudely cut short by my shitty internet and my shitty cell service, but made some adaptions. But that's not interesting, and that's not why anyone's listening to this podcast. So let's jump into it, man. We were just getting into files the last episode. I don't remember what the files were. I think we were talking about Timothy McVeigh or the World Trade Center bombings, and then everything went to hell.
So the one thing I'm still looking for it.
Oh, I mean, there's no agenda.
My actual reports from the Twin Towers in 91.
Is it 91?
Off the top of my head, right?
I thought it was 93.
You're probably right.
You might be. You might be. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's Wikipediable.
Wikipediable. That is a verb or a noun or an adjective.
But yeah, so I think we're just trying to remember what explosive was used.
World Trade Center, 93. 93, February 26th. The 1,336 pound urea nitrate hydrogen gas enhanced device.
Oh yeah. So urea nitrate, which is another fertilizer-based explosive, very similar to ammonium nitrate. It's just urea nitrate versus ammonium nitrate is a very get what you can get your hands on type of a thing.
Okay.
There's all kinds of you can make urea nitrate by distilling urine and then nitrating the urea from it, or it's or you can just buy bags of urea nitrate. In pretty much any country, the less developed the better.
Oh really?
Because there's
probably agricultural based.
The less developed countries tend to use more solid based fertilizers.
Okay.
And have less controls over them.
Okay.
Where in this country, it's a lot of liquid fertilizers with more controls.
Okay.
And the liquid fertilizers, I don't know if anybody's done work in it, but I've never heard of people making explosives from it. I'm sure it's possible because the chemical's there. It's still the same chemical, but it's suspended in probably a liquid, probably just water. But it's just not something that has come up. In any of my classes that I've taken on HME labs, which have been way too many, liquid fertilizers never been a thing. I've never, Sorry, I came upon that thought just at this moment.
No, not at all. I had on my friend Josh Newman yesterday. He's been on a couple times. He started his own podcast after doing one. He's 35. He was a Marine, I think, in Iraq. Okay. And we were talking about. I brought up EOD, and he was like, he goes, man, those guys never got there on time. He goes, there was always a 5-hour wait. And I was like, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're trying to see if any of you dumbasses set it off. And he goes, they're probably doing something important, like defusing bombs, but, and I was like, yeah, he wants to get you to go on his podcast, by the way. I told him I'd ask you.
Yeah.
But,
send him my contact info.
I will. That's what I said. I was like, I'll ask if I can send the info. But, I guess wave to the ATF is it how easy is it to make, right now, with your knowledge? Is it the knowledge that's harder to come by? It's kind of we don't control nuclear weapons so much as we control the material. Is it that it's hard to create bombs, or is it hard to learn how to create bombs? Everyone's on a list.
2 years of inorganic chemistry, like university level inorganic chemistry, and access to anarchist literature. And you have the knowledge to create the most common, so like secondary explosives, which are the main charge, the big explosive. Like when we were talking about an explosive train last time.
Yeah.
Secondary explosives in Lebanon was like the ammonium nitrate. Primary explosives is like the fireworks.
Yeah.
Right? Or the fire, the beginning of that explosive train. So the most common primary explosive used by terrorists, like created by terrorists, when it's not just stolen mining grade blasting caps, is triacetone triperoxide, or TATP. With 2 years of undergrad chemistry and access to anarchist literature, you can make decent TATP with one stop at Home Depot. And actually, so in the military, we have like handheld spectrometers for testing unknown chemicals. We are like searching a lab and trying to determine what they're making. Is it a homemade explosives lab? Is it a drug lab? Is it a bio weapon lab? Whatever. We carry like down to the basic bomb squad teams, EOD teams. It's a portable little spectrometer. And when we train with these, the people setting up the training will often just fill containers with water as our simulant for us to run. But the problem is the spectrometer is designed to look for something dissolved in water. Like it's tuned for that.
Yeah.
So the spectrometer just gets freaking confused and looks at it forever, looking for something else in there. Because, if you have hydrogen peroxide, it's hydrogen peroxide, it's like 3% hydrogen peroxide with water.
Yeah.
Right? The spectrometer will find that it's hydrogen, will say, hey, you're looking at hydrogen peroxide. It won't say you're looking at water.
Yeah.
It's designed to look for...
kind of cancels all that out, yeah.
That are liquid chemicals are something in water.
Yeah.
So I went out to set up a training for... the Army does these EOD Team of the Year competitions. It's like sort of like Best Ranger, but it's tiered, where it goes from the EOD companies up to the EOD companies will run a competition, and then the battalion level, brigade level, and then finally like an all Army competition. And I was running I was helping set up a HME lab for the competitors to run at a battalion or brigade level, something like that. And I was tired of the bad simulants in these HME labs, so I just went to Home Depot and I bought all the chemicals needed to make TATP at once.
Oh, jeez.
One, because I needed this lab, and two, I've always heard that retailers would flag certain combination of purchases, and I just wanted to see what would happen.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into how it's made. It's the easiest to Google thing in the world.
Yeah.
But the ingredients were high strength hydrogen peroxide, the higher the better. Acetone, which is just sold in the paint section.
Nail polish remover or paint remover.
Yep. Yeah. And it's just sold as a big can that says acetone. And it's really pure, way more pure than you even need for this. And sulfuric acid, which you can just buy as battery acid, or a few other things, drain cleaner. The drain cleaner stuff that has green dye works fine. And hydrogen peroxide is usually the tougher one to get because you want you want 30 to 50% strength hydrogen peroxide, which is a lot stronger than the over-the-counter stuff. But I found stuff sold to oxygenate your septic system in a gallon jug. And based on how quickly it bleached my skin when I spilled a little bit of it, I'd say it's 40% or better.
Okay.
Which kind of stunned me at how cheap a gallon of 40% hydrogen peroxide was. The other place to get it is like hair bleach.
Yeah.
But they usually charge a lot for that.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of states require a beautician's license or cosmetology license to buy it.
Okay.
But no, Home Depot, septic tank oxygenator.
Shout out Home Depot for enabling the ISIS in all of us.
Yeah, but and that's kind of like, I think I was talking to you, I think I mentioned it last week, that I am astounded every day with like how crazy things seem to be with politics right now, with riots going on after protests,
pandemics,
and all the things going on, but nobody's blowing things up.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Why isn't there weren't there some like homemade bombs in Portland? Weren't they throwing them at like they put like a fence around a court or a federal court? Or were those just like little bitch ass bombs?
I used to get, when I was active duty, I would get the FBI and the ATF come together and they put out a weekly email of all of the explosive incidents in America.
Okay.
And there's way more than you would think, but almost all of them are kids with what I call an aluminum foil bomb. Are you familiar with that concept?
No.
So it's a very common thing for kids nowadays. You take a ball of aluminum foil and a little bit of sulfuric acid-based drain cleaner. You put it in a soda bottle and you seal it up really fast and throw it. And it generates, I think, hydrogen gas until the bottle blows up.
Okay.
And it'll take apart a mailbox.
Fuck yeah. My brother used to make us dry ice bombs. Yeah.
Same idea.
Okay.
But they prosecute kids for that shit now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I would get a weekly roll-up on all the things the FBI or ATF responded to. And it would say what charges were filed. And, every weweek, 5, 10, 15 of these, and I call them overpressure devices in general, like that whole category.
Sure.
Because it's just something generating gas until the container lets go.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would have gone to prison when I was like 12 for that shit.
Yeah,
and
man.
That's how I got interested in this field. So I used to feel that, like, if I ever got called on one of those, I probably would be like, oh, I don't know what's here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it was those kids.
I don't know. But yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. When we used to make dry ice bombs in like an upscale neighborhood, I mean, we were like 12, 13. Yeah, we get big ones. We moved up from like the 20-ounce bottles to like the 2 liters, to 3 liters. Like, get them in big slingshots. Really get some heat on those motherfuckers.
You can get federal charges for that shit now.
Jesus.
It is crazy.
Jesus Christ. So, all right. So those are all those. But yeah, what happened with Home Depot? I know you said you can't say how you made it, but was there anything?
No. So here
they didn't light you up.
So I intentionally wasn't combining. Like, I know how. Like, every EOD technician knows how to make TATP from raw ingredients, but that wasn't my point.
Yeah.
I wanted to have clear, like, beakers and glassware set up with the raw ingredients so that they can run their spectrometer. And then because it's a white crystalline solid, you end up finishing it. One of the good ways to finish it is in like a Pyrex baking dish and let it dry there. So I took popcorn salt and basically dumped out a thing of popcorn salt into a dish and then added a little bit of water to sort of dissolve it and then let it dry and recrystallize as a mess. And that was the sample of finished product for them to check out. So they would have gotten sodium chloride from that. And I'd be like, yeah, your spectrometer works. And then I wanted them to be able to scan all the other glassware and get an actual reading on their spectrometer for hydrogen peroxide, for sulfuric acid, and for acetone, and be able to tell the graders, oh, they're making TATP here.
Okay.
They've got a white crystalline solid, they have the ingredients, and they have the different stages of work from there's different steps in making it, and I had them all set up.
Yeah.
And it went well. But yeah, I didn't get the slightest sideways look going into, Home Depot in civilian clothes and buying just the ingredients for this explosive,
Jesus.
And it wasn't like in Breaking Bad where, I don't know if you saw Breaking Bad, but there's this great scene where he catches two guys in Albuquerque at a Home Depot or a Lowe's, probably with a different name for the show, and basically talking about buying all the ingredients. And the main character, basically tells them, you're doing this all wrong. You buy one thing at one store and another thing you don't buy it all together.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Yeah, really. But do you think maybe that it was flagged, but it's flagged in they don't want to spook you? I'm just looking at it from because I spent 50 years in the FBI. Let me tell you about our tactics. But I feel like you would, do it quietly. Maybe try to follow the person, see if they're part of a larger network.
It's possible, but, I think what's more likely is if there was, let's say something blew up in that area where I was.
Yeah.
They might have gone around they figured out it was TATP.
Mm-hmm.
They might then go around to different, go to Lowe's and go to Home Depot and say, hey, has anybody bought these things?
Yeah. Yeah.
After the fact. It didn't feel like there was anything proactive going on, which is kind of what people always said happened.
Maybe,
that was the rumor that goes around in our field.
Yeah.
Is that proactive stuff is going on. And my experience in buying it all intentionally was, I don't know.
Maybe
it could still be, but I don't know.
Maybe it's a deterrent. Maybe it's the illusion that creates a deterrent. It's like who is it? Mike Baker, that former CIA guy that was on Joe Rogan. And he was like, let me tell you this. He's like, yes, they're watching everything. They're recording everything. But guess what? They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about the porn you're looking at. They don't give a fuck about what you're Googling. Yes, they have everything, but because they have everything, and it's 300 million people's everything, is an infinite stack that every day would take, a single 24-hour period would take a century to go through. So unless you're a high-value target, they don't give a fuck about the weird porn you're looking at, about what you're buying, about what you're gambling. They don't care. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why one of the reasons I don't get all worried about surveillance is I know I've been on every list for a long time.
Yeah.
Military bomb techs, we all work with the Secret Service at one time or another. The Secret Service, I don't know if you're aware of that.
I didn't know that.
The Secret Service doesn't have a bomb squad, and they rent out military techs on a rotational basis.
Well, that probably makes sense. Just get the ones where you're going. You're going somewhere, pick them up from there.
Well, so we always try, the closer you are, the more likely. But I used to I'd fly from Maryland to Arizona for a Secret Service mission.
Oh, so okay. They're not just getting the people near. I wonder what the reason is for that. Security?
The reason is nobody's ever found a bomb with the Secret Service. So if you were a Secret Service bomb tech, you'd get your little bit of training at the beginning, and then you'd never see anything real again.
In Annie, I think it's this book, Annie Jacobson's Surprise, Kill, Vanish. It's all about like the CIA Special Activities Division, but they talk about it was George H.W. and I think Iraq. They did find a bomb under a bridge and they diverted the motorcade, but they did it very quietly. And I think she said, and like it's not public knowledge until like the publishing of this book in 2019. But they were like, not to say you're wrong, but it made sense. Why would you announce it?
Over in Iraq, it would be different.
Okay, yeah, that's different.
I'm sure
than America.
I'm excluding.
Okay,
I guess.
Okay, I thought you meant like that makes a lot more sense. It probably happened in Iraq under a bridge as opposed to Brooklyn.
And it probably wasn't just for him. It was probably just there was a roadside bomb.
Yeah, because they're just everywhere there. It's like dandelions. They just found a bomb.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was probably his motorcade route because it was a common military route.
Okay, sure.
And the military routes are being checked for bombs constantly, and they're constantly being found.
That makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot. Yeah, it's probably on this well-beaten path that they've done before, that all the drivers know, that the nearby bases are familiar with, and hand in hand, which the terrorists are always setting up IEDs for.
And it was probably going from like the Iraqi Capitol government building where the prime minister is, between there and the military base.
Yeah.
Like that's what the route was.
Yeah.
It's probably the route.
Yeah.
That, the big highway that's actually paved and well maintained.
Doesn't go through like the back like valleys and mountains of like the heroin farmers. Like, okay, so that's a lot different. Yeah, that's not okay. That's apples and oranges. That's a back road in Iraq versus Birmingham.
As far as I know, so Mike Vining has a good story. So there was one big one, but there was a Secret Service thing going. He's got a great story. I've heard him tell it. I think it was a Secret Service mission and stuff started blowing up. And I think he was a team member at the time, and his team leader went in, like, there was a bunch of bombs going on at once, kind of all over the city. And they got called for a suspected device at like some kind of plant. And his team leader went in to go check on it, and it went.
Oh,
and he died. The dude died.
Oh, shit.
And I think this was before he went Delta, when he was a normal EOD tech. So it would have been like Vietnam era.
Okay.
Mike Vining knows the story. He was freaking there.
Okay.
But,
yeah. That's nuts.
And he's told me it before. But yeah, it was like a really bad day. And like he had to do the post blast on it, as far as like, if I remember right. But like, that's one of the few, and if I remember right, that was a Secret Service mission. Like, he was there on a Secret Service mission, but it was kind of like there were bombs going off all over the city, not necessarily where the protectee was.
Okay.
And they got called kind of to support because they happened to be, it's like if a bunch of bombs were, if the president was in New York and there were bombs going off around New York City, kind of maybe in protest of the president being there.
Sure.
The Secret Service wouldn't be involved in it otherwise, but these guys got involved because they were the best bomb technicians within the city. Like, pretty much wherever a military EOD tech goes, they're the best bomb tech in that city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless there's a really good guy that would happen to be prior military in a local police department, they are all way worse than
sounds like
average military EOD team leader.
Sounds like a perfect setup for like a B-rated movie.
Yeah,
like retired grizzled EOD.
I am happy to debate with a FBI bomb technician in public or on your podcast about who is better. And but they won't make that argument. I went to my advanced when I did advanced IEDs, we had an FBI bomb tech in the class, and they don't get the level of training we do. They go through the 6-week course so police departments go through a 6-week course run by the ATF and the FBI, and that's it. Unless their department happens to find some money for some additional training, which, unless you're in LA or New York, it's not going to happen.
Jesus.
I think LA and New York are about the only police departments in the country that have full-time bomb squads.
Yeah, makes sense.
Every other bomb technician in a police department, even up to state police, sheriff's departments, it's an additional duty. Like, you're a patrol officer who got sent, who does additional duty on the bomb squad, just like on the SWAT team, and you get an extra $200 a month for being on call with the bomb squad.
You have your certificate,
just like with the SWAT team.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, give a little background information on yourself real quick. I gotta go piss. I'm sorry. I drank a lot of water.
If Tommy doesn't edit this out, I am just checking my email.
I was thinking, do you think you could get an FBI bomb tech?
I don't know any of the FBI guys. I've got a few, I've got one contact at NYPD who's a National Guard EOD technician. But most, where I live in Ohio, when I was first getting out, I was looking at maybe local law enforcement to try to get on a bomb squad. But pretty much anywhere you go outside of NYPD or so I know NYPD, if a military bomb, from talking to their bomb squad guys, if they know a military bomb tech is applying for the NYPD, the commander of the bomb squad will step in and help direct that person.
Okay.
Because it's such an advantage in training and things. Because to be a military bomb tech, you have to go through Navy EOD school, which is give or take a year. I think it's only about 9 months, but between getting to the school, it usually takes, once you get there, it takes maybe a month to start a class, because there's a lot of times a backlog, at least there was when I went through.
Mm-hmm.
And then before I could start that, the Army has a washout program where you go through, I think it's 3 months, 9 weeks, a 9-week course, which is pre-EOD school. Just because it's so expensive for the military to send somebody to EOD school, they don't want to send somebody who's just going to go there and fail, or go and be a fuck up. So
try to weed them out.
They kind of get you started, look for signs that you're not worth sending. fail you early before they pay the Navy a bunch of money to train you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then after all that, you're only a basic team member, and you're probably 2 to 4 years from being team leader certified, which is and then at a local police department, they might have 1 or 2 people that have been through the 6-week FBI course, and the rest of them probably have not even been through that, and they just got some training with the couple of people that went through the 6-week course.
Yeah.
And just if they're gonna blow something up, they have to have like that guy that went through the 6-week course there.
Yeah.
Everyone else is there to like maintain equipment and help move the robot and drive the robot and help put on the bomb suit, because you want 1 or 2 people to do that.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You're not. I don't think I've ever put on the bomb suit on my own. Like, you get dressed. Somebody dresses you.
They strap you in. Yeah. Do you think that like, I feel like Chicago and Atlanta would have bomb squads just because of Chicago O'Hare and Hartsfield Jackson, just like the number 1 and 2 busiest airports in the world?
So it's possible. I haven't met anybody. I've never worked in Chicago. I have responded in Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember it being like set stuff. But one thing to remember is most ports, like airports, have their own police departments.
Okay.
And and the TSA at all the major airports have a position called the TSSE. It used to be a bomb appraisal officer, a BAO, but they changed the title to like TSS is like the title for all like the TSA. It's like technical security something, but the dash E is just explosives.
Yeah.
So originally that position, you had to be a military bomb tech, had to be a graduate of Naval School Explosive Ordnance Disposal. But when they changed the title of the TSSE, they started letting in graduates of the 6-week FBI course. But for the most part, it's still staffed by ex-military bomb techs. And so they're there to make the decision to call the bomb squad.
Okay.
Which most of major airports is just the bomb squad guys for the port police.
Okay. That makes sense.
Like Cleveland Airport doesn't have it, but like Seattle Port Police, I know, at least, I don't know if he's still there, but it used to be a Navy guy that was head of security for the Seattle Port Police, and he was an ex-Navy bomb tech. And like LAPD, the Port of LA, same thing, their own police.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times that stuff's broken up. So you might be right, but all the various different law enforcement agencies that are in big cities kind of reduce the workload as you're thinking of it.
Okay. Yeah, I was in LA on November 1st, 2013 for a medical school interview. I flew in the day before and I flew in the next day. But on the day of my interview, November 1st, is the day that some guy walked into LAX and shut up the place. First time a TSA agent was ever killed. Might have been the only time. But I remember they brought, because I couldn't get to my hotel. It took me like 8 hours. A 20-minute cab ride from the hotel to the med school was an 8-hour walk back because all the roads were shut down. They called in the bomb squad. I vividly remember you could look up in the sky and there were no planes because they shut down LAX, but there were so many news choppers because it's an international airport. And I couldn't go back to my hotel because like they didn't know like what was in a blast radius, and I was like, what the fuck? But
because that's when it became, they started emphasizing the security risk of long lines at security, because the shooting was like at the TSA checkpoint.
Yeah. So the guy walked right up, killed the TSA agent. I think he was killed.
Because it became, it became a big news piece that long lines, like, because if you're flying in at Christmas, there's 1,000 people at the TSA checkpoint at a big airport, because it's like a whole bunch of lines, snaked around, everybody's crammed together.
Right there. Dude, I lived in Atlanta for 15 years, man. Hartsfield Jackson, around Thanksgiving, Christmas, flying home to see family. I used to always think that. I'd be like, man, if I was like much more unstable and maybe like a religious fundamentalist, I was like, there's a lot of security to get, into the main airport, but I'm like, where everyone's just being dropped off.
Yep.
Sure, they have cop cars there, and if anyone like parks or stops their car, they'd be like, no, you got to keep going. But I was like, man, you just go rent a U-Haul or some shit, or just get a van, pack this fucker up. You don't even need to get close. You don't even need to get close.
And you can also just do like Columbine style and walk in.
Oh yeah,
like,
not even
park in the garage with the trench coat on.
Yeah.
Walk in.
Just have to just jump out of a van. I'm in my mind's eye, I'm seeing like where I was dropped off every time. You walk right in there, and for holidays they put up the temporary, almost like the bank teller lines. They just snake, and it's just like 50. It's literally like 50 rows thick. You'll stand in there for 2 hours, and I mean they walk up and down with like bomb dogs and stuff. And it's mainly around holidays, but they have like bomb dogs. They always have like a show of force. But if you went in there with like no desire to get out of it alive, that's another thing. It's like we talked about the lack of car bombs. The lack of attacks there it boggles the mind. Is it deterrence?
So many soft targets.
Yeah. Is it deterrence, or is it do we have a good intelligence system, or is it just, do they nip it in the bud? Do they get it while it's still being planned over email, and it's less likely that just some white dude with a college education is going to throw it all away versus Abdul from Oman is here and he doesn't speak English.
Well, I mean, look at the Unabomber.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Harvard, Ted Kaczynski, dude, he's a brilliant motherfucker. It's Ted Kaczynski, right? Yeah.
No, not Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was
I thought he was like the technology manifesto guy. Was he the Unabomber?
No, wasn't
I have no idea.
I'm confused.
No, I'm confused. Let's look it up.
Because I thought, wait.
Let's see. Hold on. Hey, let me switch back to my internet real quick, because I think...
Yeah. Ted Kaczynski. Yeah, you're right. Why did I... That just didn't sound right. Yeah, that's the Unabomber.
Hey, hold on.
Why that didn't sound right. I'm going
to switch to my Wi-Fi real quick. FYI.
And then who was Oklahoma?
That was Timothy McVeigh. Hey, I'm going to switch to my Wi-Fi real quick because my internet's fucking up.
Okay.
Let's see.
Hopefully you don't drop out.
Hopefully. Let's see. Stay on. Are we good? Can you hear me?
Yep.
We did it? We made the surgery. We did it.
All right.
Yeah.
So I know they have decent internet in Ocean City.
They do.
What's going on here?
Well, I live with my parents. And the internet they're in their 60s. Internet is not priority number one. If I had my ways, when I get this podcast going, goddamn right, dude, I'm gonna get I'm gonna go somewhere where they have fiber, Google Fiber, or maybe just a satellite connection. Just foot the bill. You
got to get on that beta for Starlink.
I know, dude. That's what I keep thinking of. I'm like, man, I just need to get on that shit. Because, that's what I want to get. Like, as the podcast progresses, like, I want to bump up the video resolution, audio quality. I just got to get a killer connection. Yeah. Because right now, there's too many times where I'm talking to someone and it starts to glitch up, and I'm like, no. God, please, no, not now. Like, It's but Ted Kaczynski and then Timothy McVeigh. You're right. I mean, they're two like middle class white guys. So I guess there goes my theory of deterrence. Columbine, two white kids. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't understand.
Dude, I went to UGA, University of Georgia. I went to University of Georgia, and I mean, there's like 40,000 students there, and I had all my my redneck friends, other friends that were like ex-military. You know, if you have a gun on campus, that's 10 years in prison and $10,000 fine. But they all carry Glocks in their backpacks because their mindset is like, man, I'd rather fight this in court than just be, because you go into those big like organic chemistry lectures, you're just in like an auditorium. You're just in seat number 1 of 500, and there's one entrance. I used to always think, I'd be like, someone's just gonna walk in here one day and just light this place up. They all used to carry guns because they'd be like, fuck this, you know, I'm gonna put one in his head if someone comes in here. But I used to think like, so yeah, me and my friends would always talk about that, like, man, if there was to be a shooting, where would it be? And it'd be like probably in like the SLC, the Student Learning Center. But then we started to think, if you look at UGA, there's the stadium is right in the middle of campus, and there's like an elevated bridge that goes by. All the buses go on it. People can walk. It's right behind like the field goal. We used to think in our, you know, completely normal conversations, me and my friend would always think like, man, if you really wanted to fuck shit up, you would just, because you can probably ram off the bridge into the stadium. Like, dude, if you got a bomb, you could go right into the student section and take out like 10,000 people. But like, if you wanted to, I think you probably could. There's no security.
Yeah, I mean,
they're watching.
And you probably, it's funny because this made so little news, but a student tried to walk into either an Oklahoma State or a University of Oklahoma game.
Really?
With a bomb of TATP, the explosive I was talking about earlier.
Jesus.
Yeah, he had a backpack full of pipe bombs filled with TATP. But the thing is, TATP's primary explosive, you're supposed to make like the little blasting cap out of it, not the big explosive, because it's so sensitive.
Yeah, it's like
it also reacts with metal and becomes more sensitive.
Oh.
So he filled these metal pipes with TATP.
Jackass.
And he sat down on a bench outside of the stadium. And it's a matter of debate. Some people think that he just decided to kill himself instead of going through with it. Or some people think when he set the bag down, because it was the TATP, it reacted and went off. But needless to say, it blew up while he was like, he decided, I guess, like one of the theories is that he went to sit down on the bench to wait until like, you know, right before halftime to when it was like as crowded as possible to walk in and blow himself up. And then, but when he sat down, there was a problem and it blew up and it separated his head from his body.
When was this?
I think if I remember right, his head went like 100 yards.
When was this?
I want to the early 2000s. It's pretty easy to find.
Yeah. OSU. You said OSU.
OSU or either OSU.
I looked up OSU bomber and it came up with bomber jackets for OSU, like the leather ones.
It might be OU also, or University of Oklahoma.
Oklahoma bomber. Bombing. Oklahoma. God damn it, that's a Timothy McVeigh one. It's Oklahoma City bombing. Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Oklahoma. Yeah. I can't spell. University bombing? Let's see. 2005, University of Oklahoma bombing. Bomb went off near George Lynn Cross Hall. Let's see. October 1st, 2005. The bomber, OU student Joel Henrich III, was killed in the explosion.
Yep.
Yeah, he used a bunch of ammonium nitrate. There was an innuendo regarding the Pakistani heritage of the bomber's roommate. He used TATP.
Yeah, after the explosive, the agent was found to be TATP.
Yeah. They can, yeah.
Yep, and then, but yeah, I know the FBI guy that, so he works in, I think, New Mexico State has a big bombing, explosives, like research. They do a lot of explosives research. They have like a mountain where they can have basically zero range limit. They can make bombs as big as they want. But he got called in because when they went into his dorm was covered in TATP residue.
Oh, Jesus.
And I guess his roommate just thought he was making drugs and didn't say anything.
I mean, college, you know.
Yeah.
Gets a little crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so but that happened in 2005.
I'd never heard of that. I'd never heard of that.
Exactly.
I mean, did you know? I never knew this. Did you know that Columbine was supposed to be a bombing with like a little bit of shooting? If you ever watch the Foley or read all the classified shit from the FBI, their full report, I
never got too deep into that.
I did.
They get stopped and then it rolled into a bunch of shooting.
It kind of it didn't go to plan, which I guess nothing ever does. This is like 5 years ago. I went on like a 2-week bender where I just kind of read everything about it, watched everything about it, and what they wanted to do is they had propane tank bombs, and what they wanted to do is they went and set them down in the cafeteria, and above the cafeteria was the library, and their idea was that at the very peak lunch hour, they detonate the bombs that would kill everyone in the cafeteria, and they hoped that it would bring down the library and everyone in the library. And then as everyone ran out, they were going to go, like true psychopaths, they were going to be out on the edge and just start mowing everyone down. So it was you either go back into the flaming building or you get shot. And not only that, they put explosives in their cars so that later, when they, eventually when the cops would get to their cars, a secondary chain of explosives would go off so they could take out EMT and bomb squad. The bombs didn't go off. So they went in and just started shooting. And towards the end, right before they went to the library and did their kind of final stand, there's actually, it's like the most famous still. If you just Google Columbine, it'll probably be that frame still where it's you see them and they're it's from a cafeteria CCTV. But if you watch the video, they went in there and they were actually taking pot shots at the propane tanks, and they think that was the first maybe loose attempt at suicide. It was just let's see if this fucker will go off. Didn't. They went back up to the library, shot a couple more people, and then shot themselves. Real piece of shit, but
tanks aren't a super.
Well, I don't think they were bright kids.
Thing to make a bomb out of.
They also left diaries saying that after they died, they were going to become demons and fly around the underworld. And I'm not making this up. And then hijack planes and fly them into skyscrapers in New York City. 8 years before 9/11, they had foresight, I guess.
What's crazier, that or thinking that if you kill yourself, there's going to be 72 virgins waiting for you?
They're both retarded.
There's a lot of people that think that.
Yeah, I had on that guy Dwayne Hughes, who worked at Sandia Laboratory for 38 years. He's 86. And did all sorts of nuclear weapons research. Yeah. And he was, just unabashedly, this guy doesn't give a fuck. He's just, pro-American, zero PC. And he was like, I don't understand the whole 72 virgins things, because I can tell you right now, we have enough of a stockpile of nuclear weapons that we might deplete their virgin supply. The number we'd kill. I was like, fuck yeah, Dwayne. But, yeah, man, they're both equally retarded. But did you know one of the kids, I think it was Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, one of them was born on 9/11, obviously before the actual date, but that was his birthday. Little fun fact. Yeah, and they did the shooting on 4/20, Hitler's birthday.
That's not surprising.
No.
They had to pick a day.
They had to. Dude, I always think about that, 4/20, the whole 4/20, weed thing, that's been going on forever. You got to think, because when I was in high school in the mid to late 2000s, 4/20, you'd always see the stoners, even at a private Catholic high school. You'd see them at, get a bunch of edgy 16-year-olds, 4/20, dude, we're high today. You got to think, man, there had to have been someone high at Columbine on 4/20, and that just would have made the whole thing so much worse. It's a terrible thing to joke about, but I think about that, man, my old roommate had had kind of a funny idea about 420. He's like,
I think it was 420.
99.
When I was like a sophomore in high school, 2 girls took LSD and were just crying in one of my classes, like sobbing,
just
like
seeing the devil.
Their shit. And my teacher didn't know what the fuck to do.
Who the fuck would take LSD and go to school, man? Do that. You do it out in the woods. You do if you. My time's doing it. Only a handful. You do it with like a best friend, a good vibes guy. You go out. You go out into the woods, maybe a lake house, on a sunny day, and you watch the water shimmer and listen to birds. That's a religious experience. Why the fuck would you take it at school?
I don't know. I just remember, like, because I actually worked with both of those girls in my first job.
Yeah.
And, like, they worked with me at this time.
Yeah.
I was a busboy in a restaurant at 15 years old. And I think they were both hosts, like hostesses. And, yeah, they were all fun, like... I had to ask them, like, that weekend when we were working, like, what the fuck was going on with you two?
LSD,
like, we took acid and went before class at lunch.
That sounds like the worst day of your life.
Yeah, right?
Dude, acid is like acid's a lot like a solid fuel rocket. Once you light it, it goes. So if you're gonna light it, make sure it's planned. Make sure you've got open skies. You've got your trajectory. Because you're just going until it runs out. Yeah. It's not something that you can maneuver. You don't take it and then, well, let's hope everything works out. No. You don't light the back of a rocket. Yeah. You only do if you're going for like a moonshot, right?
Yeah. One other thing that's worth checking out, because it'll probably lead you down to a whole bunch of podcasts.
Fuck yeah.
There's an old 60 Minutes report called A Bad Trip to Edgewood.
Okay.
It's on YouTube.
I'll write it down.
Back during the early days of the Cold War, the Army ran there's the Edgewood Chemical and Biological Center.
Okay.
Which is headquartered at basically Aberdeen Proving Ground, but it's another peninsula that's completely disconnected. I lived there for 5 years.
Okay, yeah. I got the...
It's known as Edgewood Chemical Activity.
Edgewood Arsenal Human Experiments?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chemical... Okay, yeah.
And they basically were testing LSD and PCP and a bunch of other things on active duty military. Basically, they tell these kids that were like in the military during the Cold War, hey, you can either have a shitty job as an infantryman doing KP, doing all this other, shitty tasks, or you can come over and be part of this, thing going on, and you get 3-day weekends every weekend, and you get extra duties.
Fuck that, dude. If the military's giving you psychedelics, it's not for a good. It's not for a good end.
You just do what they tell you to do. Take what they tell you to take.
Fuck that. Sounds like MK Ultra, man.
But it was all used. So like MK Ultra was like, hey, we think the Soviets are trying to figure out how to use psychedelics
Manchurian candidates. Yeah.
For like remote viewing to spy on.
Yeah.
But this was all. Would these things be useful in combat?
Yeah.
Would these drugs give us super soldiers, or can we weaponize these drugs to fuck up the enemy?
They'd be great to fuck up the enemy, man. Imagine spraying some fucking LSD.
So there's a chemical agent. What do you call it? Like made for war chemical agents, weaponized. All the weaponized chemical agents have the 2-letter code names.
Okay.
HD mustard, CG, but then there's a hallucinogen called BZ, Bravo Zeta.
Okay.
Bravo Zulu, and it's weaponized form of essentially LSD. It's LSD that can be delivered by like a bomb.
An aerosol, okay.
Yeah, but that you can fill a bomb, bursting explosive shell with BZ, and it would make the enemy trip balls for a couple of days, and but like obviously like chemical warfare kind of petered out. But that's
allegedly
that was in the stockpile. That's a real it's weaponized, basically LSD.
Cold War, nothing was off the table, man. Nothing was off the table.
Yeah,
the British had a thing called, I think it was Operation Blue Rooster or Blue Chicken, nuclear landmines that they put between them and the Soviets, and they put them underground. But because it was permafrost, they had to keep it warm, so they filled it with a bunch of seed and then put chickens in there and their body temperature.
Yeah, I mean that never really went to fruition. But there's a bunch of I've seen other diagrams for nuclear landmines. They're real. There's a bunch of VX.
Yeah, VX gas.
Yeah, there's a bunch of VX projectiles in Alaska somewhere. We know where they are.
Oh, Jesus.
But we just haven't gotten around to go dig them up, because there used to be a artillery site in Alaska that was set up there to shoot VX at like the Soviets as they're coming across.
Makes sense.
And but then when they shut down that site, it was like this super remote site, basically just a big artillery piece with some shells and probably like a cabin for soldiers to stay in like a week at a time. They get dropped off there with a radio. They'd have a radio, but when they were shutting that down, they just buried all these VX shells. And we're like, it'll get dealt with later on, and still looking for the money for that shit.
Yeah, just keep kicking it down the road. It's
Yeah. Well, so AMU, American Military University in DC, they had a contract to develop chemical weapons in the 40s. Did I tell the story last time? I don't think I did. And when the contract was canceled, then basically out behind the lab, they had this big pit where they just throw stuff they were done with. And this is back when AMU, when it was first opened, was in the middle of the woods.
Okay.
Now it's like in the suburbs of DC.
God damn it.
So they just had this pit, and then when they shut down the lab, they basically just bulldozed this lab into the pit.
Naturally.
And then they sold off the property.
Oh, God damn it. Oh, God damn it.
And in, I want to say 94, the guy who had a house basically on top of it was adding either doing an addition to his house or extending I think he was extending his back porch, and pulled up a mustard round.
Oh, no.
And that is still being cleaned up to this day.
Jesus Christ.
I've been out there a bunch of times. It's pretty hilarious. And for the first almost 20 years, the guy was fighting eminent domain claim for the property. So he was making the government lease the property during the cleanup.
That's awesome.
For like 15 years.
That's awesome. What a baller.
Right?
Amen.
And then they finally were able to buy it a few years ago and get rid of his house.
I respect the hustle.
They were basically just working around his house and leasing the property for the longest time. But at AMU, if any students from AMU are listening to this, if you walk around campus and there's a big lot that looks like it's been under construction for the last 20 years, that's it.
Just a bunch of VX gas? Jesus Christ.
It's pretty much cleaned up now.
Oh, no.
But they're still working. There's still little things. That's a lot of old glassware and things. But it's real, like the original hole was really deep. So it's this really slow excavation process. And you'll see guys in like this full chemical gear get up and all this stuff. And it's just a mess.
God damn it. God damn
it. And it's like you can see this fenced in area. It's on the edge of campus at AMU.
It's, I kind of like the idea of the Nevada test site. That's the site. Obviously, you know what it is. It's for everyone listening. That's what Area 51 is inside of. That's where all of the classified planes get tested. That's where we did all the nukes. But it's the largest single military. Isn't this? I think it's the largest piece of like government-owned land in the world, or weapons range.
I wouldn't go there. There's giant. BLM controls most of the land in the West.
Nevada test site is 1,351 square miles.
Yeah.
It's a big boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
But just like, it all depends on what you describe as a single piece of land, just because...
Okay, wait, this says okay, not 1,300, 4,531.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be the largest single thing, but just BLM controls so much of the West right now, just the way the West was laid out.
What's BLM?
What's that?
What's BLM?
Bureau
of Land Management. Okay.
So, because the Bureau of Land Management is under the Department of the Interior.
Okay.
And then, so all of the national parks.
Okay.
Are under BLM.
But those are separate parcels of land.
Correct. But there's huge tracts national forests.
Yeah.
That aren't national parks.
Yeah.
Those are controlled by BLM.
Okay.
Huge sections of Utah and Colorado and Wyoming and Nevada and New Mexico are BLM land, and a lot of that's leased to ranchers. That's what the whole Amon Bundy thing was about.
Okay.
Because he wanted to graze his cows on BLM land, but not pay the leases for it.
Yeah.
That's what the Bundy thing was about. Anyway.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Just the statement. It's the single largest government piece of property, and I look into what all BLM controls.
Okay. Regardless, point is, it's a big old fucking place to blow shit up and test stuff. I feel like they should just do it all there.
Right, that is the biggest military installation.
Yeah, they should just. In all of my, all of my bureaucratic experience in my 100 years in government, is just put all the testing there, so we don't have any more of this VX gas shit or.
And all that's from back in.
Yeah.
For the most part, testing and disposal of stuff is pretty well controlled. I didn't often go to, but at the same time, so one of my first jobs as a bomb technician was they do DOT testing for new guided missiles in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And they were drop testing the new version of the Patriot. Basically, they had to prove that if it was in a car accident being shipped across the highways, that it wouldn't blow up.
Yeah.
So they had a Patriot missile in the tube, in a rig, and they dropped it. Well, it didn't blow up, but it broke off the rails in the tube. So they basically signed it out of an ammo supply point, and the ammo supply point wouldn't take it back because it was too broken.
Yeah.
So I got called in to blow it up.
Oh, God damn it.
Which was fine. It was just a silly situation.
Well, that's
right next to
that's a whole episode.
What's that?
So that's a whole episode.
Yeah. And then right off next to the drop site, the drop thing, they had a giant pool that they would fill with diesel fuel and suspend a missile over that, and it had to survive so much time
in the fuel
in the fire without blowing up.
Yeah, there are a lot of cool old color tests from the 60s of nuclear reactors, and they put them on semi trucks, and then they'd hit them with a train, and it's all out in the Nevada test site. Did it survive? Okay. And then they'd put it in a pit with a bunch of gas, and they'd be it has to be able to survive 35 minutes in this like raging inferno.
And the great one
they all did.
For nuclear tests, safety tests, is the train test, where they have a cask used for transporting nuclear material.
Yeah.
They run a train into it.
Yeah. It's the I know we're getting off on the rails. I know we need to wrap this bitch up, but there is a planned. I've talked about it before. The Lockheed Martin, you might like it. Lockheed Martin CL-1201. It was a plan for a flying aircraft carrier that the Pentagon contracted out the proposal to Lockheed Martin in 1969, and it was what is the largest aircraft you could make using today's technology. So 1969, and they came up with a plane that would have a wingspan of 1,100 feet. And it's insane. With a crew of 845, it could carry 22 F-4 Phantoms. This thing, it makes the helicarriers from Avengers look like small fry. But yeah,
it just seems like such a big target. I
think that's why they didn't do it.
Aircraft carrier works because it's surrounded by submarines and destroyers.
Well, I like the idea of deterrence for this thing because it had a 1.8 or a 2.8 gigawatt reactor. And their idea was just
when you blow it up, it's a nuclear bomb.
Well, no, it would have been a Chernobyl. But then then the question was posed: well, what country wants to shoot this down over their airspace or over their land?
Yeah.
Anyway, the testing they did for that, the testing they did for the nuclear reactor was that it had to survive a 600-mile-an-hour crash into a granite cliff face without breaking. And apparently they got the material science down pat. They're like, it will survive.
Well, I mean, there's 2 or 3 major broken arrow incidents.
South Carolina, Greensboro, Goldsboro.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay, yeah, let's wrap this up. We'll go. We'll do another episode because we still got a lot to talk about. But I know I said I'd let you go. Thanks for doing it, man. And I'll text you. Let's definitely set up another one.
All right, yeah, and if your buddy, the Marine guy.
Oh yeah. I'll send him your stuff.
Feel free to send him my contact.
I will. Yeah, and fuck yeah, man. We need to do another one.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
All right, brother. Stay safe, buddy.
Peace. Bye.